Hey everyone, Frank with Ice Age Performance here, and today we're going to be removing the skid from this Polaris Matrix. This is our shop build 9R155, but this will be applicable to the Pro, Axis, and Matrix snowmobiles for removing your skid. And some people might get a little intimidated with removing their skid, but it's super easy and very approachable. And you may want to remove your skid for servicing your Hyfax, installing our big wheel kit, or installing rails. So this will be helpful for how to remove it, little tips and tricks, and the easy way to get the skid out of the machine. So tools you'll need for removing the skid on a Polaris specifically, we have our 17mm deep well socket, 3/8 extension, and then a 3/8 impact. Depending how old the sled is or how tight the bolts are in the skid or in the tunnel, you may need to get a 3/8 manual or a 1/2 inch impact to break those loose. But generally speaking, this is what you'll need. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here with the removal process of the skid. And the skid is held on by 4 bolts, 2 on each side, 1 here, and then 1 at the rear drop bracket. And just important to note that there are 2 positions for the front, so just making sure that it's remounted in the same one depending on the sled setup that you have, whether you're in a Khaos with a drop skid, which is super aggressive, a little more playful, light on the skis, but either way, just making sure that's reinstalled in the same hole that you started. So we're going to go ahead and remove these bolts. And noting the orientation of the bolt here with the lock washer and outside washer there as well. And we'll take the rear one out. And as you remove these, the sled will kind of settle and might drop a little bit, so just keep an eye on your fingers. Totally normal though for it to drop and settle as you remove these bolts. And it's the exact same thing for the other side with the rear drop bracket. And same for the front. All right. So now the skid is fully detached from the tunnel, ready to be removed. So a little easier with 2 guys, but you can just tip it over, grab the mountain strap here, and give it a good yank and get it on its side. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the skid. Best thing to do is kind of swing it out away from the snowmobile, and that'll create a little bit of slack with the track, and it'll pull right out of the track there. So no need to adjust or remove your track tension. This will get it out, no problem. It does take a little bit of wrestling. But just like that, the skid is removed. So it's ready to go, whether you're replacing Hyfax, putting new rails on, or a big wheel kit. It makes it a little bit easier for installing a big wheel kit when the skid is out of the machine. Again, you just saw it takes about a minute, and saves you a little bit of wrestling when putting the big wheel kit in. So set this on the bench here. That's ready to go. And now we're going to show you how to do the reinstallation of the skid and a couple little tips and tricks when putting it back in. And now for the reinstallation of the skid, same steps, just in reverse. Again, a couple little different tips and tricks to get it back in, but generally speaking, it's the exact same as the removal process, just in the opposite fashion. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure our track is kind of pulled out perpendicular from the sled. This creates slack, so it's easier to get the skid inside of the track without wrestling it too much. And then we'll just grab our skid here. And we're going to start by putting the front of the skid kind of up toward the drivers. that'll give us the most slack to get the skid into position. So we'll kind of leave it just like that, then grab the rear of the skid and the track and sort of align it into position here. Takes a little bit of wrestling to get it back in as you go around the cogs of the track, making sure everything is aligned in here. All right, so now everything is correctly aligned within the nubs. Wheels are on the inside here, a little different for each track. Carrier wheels are in the correct position, and now we can swing it up into the skid into position. So. We'll just grab the rear of the skid here, kind of pull tension on it, and swing it back into the tunnel. And you don't need to align it too accurately just off the bat. You can kind of just get it in relative position, and you'll take your hardware that you removed earlier and reinstall that. I personally like to start with the rear drop bracket. I find that that's the easiest to realign. And just kind of line up the hole there, and take your impact driver and just get it started. And you're going to do the same thing with the front, making sure that it's in the position that you removed it from. Again, there are two holes here. One is the factory, and one is the lower that you can drill out for Khaos to make things a little more lively. So whichever position you had in it before, or if you have questions on these two positions, you can always call us. We're more than happy to help and explain it. Just gonna line up this front torque arm, put that bolt into position. All right, so both these bolts are threaded, and we're just gonna snug them up tight, and we'll flip the sled over on the other side and repeat this process. Those two are in. It helps to have another person sometimes, but not totally necessary. And just gently drop it over. This side isn't attached, so you want to make sure everything is, in position, not getting too tweaked. And the same thing, flip it on its side. And by the time you have the two bolts on the other side tightened, this side is pretty much aligned already. So we can just start with the rear drop bracket again. Take the impact and get it threaded. And making sure that you are putting the skid in the location that it was removed from. Same as the other side. This particular sled's in the stock location right now. And we can snug both of these up now. All right. So now the skid is fully reinstalled, ready to roll. We're gonna get it back on its feet here, and we'll be ready to go. All right, awesome guys. If you have any questions with the installation of your skid or any sort of suspension setup, let us know. We're more than happy to help. But this is how you remove the skid from a Pro, Axis, or Matrix snowmobile.